This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to Why Is Everyone Yelling with Lindsay Hine. I'm your host, Lindsay. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you all had a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and thank you for allowing us to take that week off last week. We really appreciated the break here at the podcast, and we are excited to get rolling into the new year. Today's episode, this is the last episode of 2021. This is episode 64, and my guest is Amanda Knapp. She is the founder and CEO of Sitting Made Simple. Amanda started her career as a nanny right out of high school in 1999. And over the years, as her nanny career evolved and changed and she moved, she lived in Columbus, Ohio in 2005 and realized quickly that there was a huge need for childcare in her area. And that is where Sitting Made Simple all started, with just 5 sitters and 8 families. She worked from her home basement, took appointment requests over the phone, scheduled everything with pen and paper, sent invoices via email, and in 2011, just 3 years in, the demand for the services were rapidly increasing, and Amanda made the decision to go full-time with Sitting Made Simple. So they started in Columbus, Ohio, and they now have locations in Cincinnati, Dallas-Fort Worth, Indianapolis, Nashville, and Raleigh. And so what Sitting Made Simple does is they connect area families with Sitting Made Simple sitters. And whether you need a last-minute babysitter help with before or after school care, part-time or full-time, evenings or weekends, they have you covered with reliable, screened, CPR certified, background checked, and interviewed sitters. Such a cool concept. And Amanda has such a fun personality, and you're going to learn about her vision as an entrepreneur for this business. I always love talking to entrepreneurs. I think it's so fun. And she's also still very involved with the families that she works with. She can often be found at lacrosse games and basketball games, dance recitals, and celebrating family milestones with those families. You can learn more about them at sittingmadesimple.com. Each location, this is really cool, is locally owned and operated by someone who lives in that city. So also, if you're interested in launching one in your city, I'm sure you can reach out to Sitting Made Simple and give them an email and see what they have to say. All right, friends, if you are loving this podcast, please consider leaving us a quick rating and review on iTunes. That is a huge way potential new listeners can find us. And I want to thank Gooder for supporting this episode of the podcast. If you are looking for a place to get some fashionable, functional, and affordable sunglasses, check out Gooder. They have all kinds of fun and simple styles. Go to gooder.com/another. Use the code another15 at checkout and you'll save 15% off your order. All right, friends, enjoy my conversation with Amanda Knapp. All right, today on Why Is Everyone Yelling, we have Amanda Knapp on the show. Welcome to the show, Amanda.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Happy Friday Eve? Is that
Junior?
Happy Friday Junior. That's what you said. I love it. Can you explain that to everybody, please?
You know, you were asking, it comes so natural to me, but it's something that, we use along the way. I think just babysitting service, trying to roll into, or anybody who works, or I don't know if it's anybody who doesn't have to necessarily work with a job. I just think anybody who has time off. So I guess it's also one of those things I used to back in the day be super sensitive about, because you're like, gosh, nurses, there's so many people, moms. I mean, hello, some of the people I share, some of the only people I share space with may not get time off on the weekends. But, like the bank folks, it used to be back then the weekend was a big deal. So it still is for me.
Well, I mean, I dates back to like school, like elementary school. Yeah. I remember being excited at the end of Wednesday in like 3rd grade.
Okay, there you go. So it almost applies to anyone and everyone we know today. Then.
Yeah.
At some point in time.
Yeah. Okay, so tell everybody, Sitting Made Simple, this is the business you created. You're now in 6 markets, right?
We are in six today, yes.
Okay, tell us what Sitting Made Simple is exactly.
Uh, we're a local babysitting service is pretty much exactly what we are. We're online. Back in the day when I was online in 2008, it was a miracle and it was new to everybody. And I had only had, those sittercityandcare.com were like the two, known babysitting services that were so called online, or you could order babysitters online. And I actually didn't have a website if I was being honest. You called me and I had a notebook and I would email you or leave you a voicemail. Like you would leave voicemails. Hi, my name is X and I'm looking for a sitter at this date and time. Thank you so much. And then I would PayPal you. And then I started realizing that it could take you 30 days to pay your $7 PayPal fee. And how was I ever going to get this to work? And little things like that. And just the phones blowing up and my notebooks running out. And so I ended up, getting a website just to try to streamline things that clearly not knowing back then that my brain was just kind of built for. And, today you've got so many online childcare services. It's been 13 years. And for us, there's very few of us that I've ever met or seen throughout our country, especially that are local still. We're local, we're locally owned in each of our cities, but we're still, we don't have a 1-800 number. Everyone calls. We're on call 24 hours a day. I'm still operating one of mine, which, there's a reason for that too. And it's a weird reason more than it's makes sense reason. But, but yeah, you basically get on your phone today or your computer, I mean, just any device, and you put in as many dates or times as you want. I mean, Maggie literally, I saw the email the other day that she's like, I'm literally got a babysitter in my house right now. And I was like, yeah, I saw it come through this morning. I'm fully aware.
Because you still run the Columbus service, and Maggie, my assistant, lives in Columbus.
Yes, she does. And so again, you can get on at any time and book a babysitter, whether it's same day or, I consistently year round. It's pretty much any needs you have. We send a sitter out to your home, and there's just, little human bodies behind this computer just helping. The robots are helpful, but they certainly don't do everything, unfortunately, or I'd be on an island somewhere, and not with, not doing anything like this today.
Totally. Okay, so is your biggest competitor, I guess, would you call it a competitor, Bambino?
I don't even know what Bambino is. I don't know. I guess I don't know that one. I'll have to look it up.
Well, I think it's national. I don't know. I remember when they first
There's
launched.
so many now.
But it sounds like what you guys do at Sitting Made Simple is much more local feel. So you guys are in Columbus, Indy, Raleigh, which I think is so funny because those are the two places, Indy and Raleigh are the two places I've lived.
I saw that.
And then what are you?
Thought that
are
was
you Dallas?
So interesting. Dallas, Fort Worth, too.
Okay.
So both of those regions.
So what? Okay, Indy, Columbus, Raleigh, Dallas, Fort Worth. What am I missing?
Nashville.
That's a good one. So
yeah.
Okay, I love that it's locally owned. I mean, I come from a running background, so I think of like Fleet Feet, which is a running store, which is a national store, but their local stores are locally owned by people in that city, which I think is really cool. So tell us a little bit about how that works.
Well, it's the franchise piece of things. I started out in 2008 as, I was a nanny for, I don't know, I think about a decade at the time. And honestly, I was 27 years old at the time, very incredibly happy working full time with the twins at the time who were, they were probably 4 at the time. They're graduating high school this year. But they were 4 at the time, and I was just looking for extra cash, full-time gig, and I need clothes. I'm definitely at the time looking for, side cash. And so my husband and I had just moved to Columbus, Ohio. He worked for Abercrombie and Fitch, and their headquarters is there. And so that's what lands us here in 2015. I pick up my, nanny. I continue my nanny career in Columbus from Wichita, Kansas. And you hook up with a local nanny service. They give you the list of families, and, you find your families. And so at this time I'm doing that. But long story short, I'm looking for families. And, I definitely had found a few families just because they're your best friend. Nannies make best friends with moms. We're sitting at the same, we're taking the kids places. So all my best friends were either a nanny or a mom.
Oh.
And so I'm looking for extra cash. And the services at the time that were available to me in 2008 were just, for me, scary. For me to just like connect with random strangers online and not really know, like, not so much scary, but also like, is this a family that I can like meet the expectations? I've definitely been in the business a long time, and I've, been around the block a few times. I want to make sure I can find something that's a really good fit for my needs at the time. And that was really hard to do unless you wanted to sit and scroll through like pictures and profiles. And it was just weird to me. I'd never done that before. I'd always worked with an agency. And so I don't know, I was ballsy. I'm 40 years old this year, and I think back to my 27-year-old self and think, oh my God, you had no idea what you were getting yourself into. And I was 27, so thank God I was just young, and I thought I could do anything and everything. Thank God for my mother, because, and one thing I did know and was most comfortable in was raising kids and walking into a home and helping each and every family member out. So that's how we got started. And again, because my best friends were moms and nannies, it was like, hey, starting a babysitting service, just, hey.
That's so good.
And, it kind of started that way. And of course, 7 years later, one of my longtime members approaches me, and, he's like, I'm in the franchise business. Tim Hortons, he was on the original franchise team of Tim Hortons.
Okay.
Back like 27 years prior, and they had merged with Burger King. And he's like, let's franchise. And I was like, what in the hell is that? Like, what? And I was like, well, that's crazy. I don't know. And of course, I ended up taking, thank you for the idea. That's awesome. I'll look into it. Then I ended up, reaching out to the first person I reached out was Indy. Speaking of Indy, she was a longtime Columbus mom, had used our service, I think, for something like maybe 3 years here in Columbus. And her husband's job took her out to Indianapolis, where there were no babysitting services. And she was so very used to using our services on a weekly basis. And so I ended up, reaching out to her. She had reached out in previous years, and I was like, hell no. I'm so swamped. Can't even think of something like that. I'm so in the trenches here. This is crazy. And of course, reached out to her a few years later, and she was like, let's do it. And so that was just one of, 6 other women throughout the next, those first 5 years, until I really had my hands full.
Oh my goodness. I love that all your best friends were nannies or moms, because I remember, like my motherhood situation at the park has changed over the years, right? Like now I go to the park with my kids, and I'm like a mom of older kids, even though I still have a 3-year-old. And so like I see the first time moms there like coddling their first child, and I'm kind of like sitting on the bench, like hands off, like kind of just like watching the scene. But I remember, when I just had my one son and going to the park, and I would always play the game in my head. Is that the mom, the nanny, or the grandma? Like I always wonder. Did you ever play that game?
Well, first of all, let's talk about the 2 different sides I've been on. We can start with the side of the nanny side of being called the mom, right?
Sure.
Or the nanny. No, like, you must be the nanny. Or, oh my God, your kids are so cute. And it's always one of those things that from a nanny's perspective, you walk into, the nanny career is something I hold so sacred, and I did it for, 12 years. And it was 4 families for me in those 12 years. And it's one of those things where you really, there's a very clear line and boundary of, really not crossing that line of, you're the nanny when it comes to the respective mom, and each mom is different. Each family I've worked for was different. Some moms were very much, more career focused and could not be home as often. And so they really heavily relied on me to step in and take a few extra, steps and fill some of those shoes, but you certainly didn't want to take away from their amazing relationship and their, giving them that shining light of, oh my gosh, they have an amazing mother. She's just doing something super cool today, or the mom that, is very worried about, hey, I want to make sure like my kids don't lose sight of like how much they are connected and attached to me. So please don't do that next time, or, things like that. And so you really do learn. Or today, oh my God, I have met almost any and every mommy that there could ever be. And completely just, I think, see it from a completely different space than you guys are so in it. And I just have so much empathy and so many like adjectives I could use for any mommy navigating the world today, just because I am on the other side of just having to support you in such a different way and having to learn how to, each of you needs support differently, which thank God I learned so early on in the business of nannying, that it makes it a little bit easier today. And it just takes the pressure off too. So
I would love to be in a lineup of moms and like you ask me like a 10 question form and then you tell me what kind of mom I am.
Oh my God. You know what? That would be so unfair. You're exactly the type of mom you should be.
Yeah.
See, there's my answer.
Yeah.
There's my,
good.
it's not even a diplomatic answer.
Yeah.
It's like the answer of like, it's the right answer,
yeah, it is. You're right.
It's that like you're sitting in that park and it's funny. You're like, well, which one are they? And then you're wondering, yeah. And I think that's the funny thing today too, is it's like everybody is a different age today. We're seeing so many different ages as far as mommies and okay, we're probably seeing more males at the park too, right? Like
sure.
More dads. Yeah. The park is probably a lot more fun these days for you than it ever was for me. Let's talk about that. It was probably way more boring than it is for you today. You didn't navigate the world today and just think about everything you had today.
The dad situation at my boys' old school that we used to go to, for sure, like at pickup, I'd go across the street, pick up the boys, and we'd stand in like the playground area and let the kids play. And it was like usually like 50% dads, 50% moms at that pickup, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, you've got a lot of dads that stay at home. And either they like just have that job that works from home. And so they put, there's a lot of different ways that it certainly happens. I mean, we certainly have a lot more dads that, book sitters. I mean, it is interesting to speak to dads versus mom, completely different. Dad is like, here's like dad. He is more like, I need to get this done. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, I got this need and I need to get it done. Is it going to get done? And you're like, whoa, okay. We certainly will try to get to working on that for sure. And then here's mom. She's more like, I really want to get this, but, I was hoping, just want to make sure a few of these things, if she happens to have a few of these things, that would be great, but, it's just totally different about like their approach. The approach is very different, which is what also, cracks you up as to, the differences of, what drives mom crazy about dad and what drives dad crazy about mom. It's like, oh my God, he forgot to add those extra details that I told him to ask for, and then dad's like, she's always ride my ass about making sure I did this, It's funny. It's a very different perspective, about just the typical, way that, every parent approaches on how they should be doing things.
I'd love to know your percentage on moms that book and dads that book.
Oh, it's still like the way you believe it to be, the only way you know it to be.
Yeah, like 90%.
Sure. I mean, don't get me wrong. We've definitely had that little spike. You got that, like, if we're looking at a graph, it's right there. It's the highest it's ever been, but it's certainly still minute. And we could probably be very specific about just the last 2 years of data.
Yeah. I would say we're like 60-40 on childcare stuff here at my house, me 60, him 40. I'm curious if he would say the same percentage, but I still have always booked the babysitters, and I don't know why. I just always have. And we've actually had issues about that. Like, I've complained about it. I'm like, why do I have to be the one to book the babysitter, So
what does he say?
I don't know. Like, I just have the contacts, I guess. Or, I don't know. And so it hasn't been like a huge thing, but it's definitely been like a,
Do you think it's because it's a caretaking quality, like it's the caretaking category? I wonder sometimes, like, well, okay, so like, I wonder if we ask this question really to everybody, I wonder if, like picking schools, right, or meeting the teacher. Like, I don't think it's like where we basically would go for data as to like how many parents have more of the, if does one parent have more time to contribute in one area, or does one parent feel that they are the most qualified to make that decision over the other? Or is it caretaking? Okay, like we typically tend to be the caretaker when it comes to what will their needs be, or the needs that we believe would be that if you were to step away from your children to let someone into your home with everything you've ever been able to gather, work for, collect, to step away, which is already hard for you to do to begin with in just general because of the way, the way that all happened. It's outside of the control in that, and then again, everybody's different in how they phase out. My whole point is I wonder, because of those certain categories that childcare happens to, connect with, that it becomes that parent over the other.
Yeah, no, I totally see that. Especially, yeah, if you are the one doing more of the primary caretaking, you're with your kids more for sure. And as you were saying that, I thought it was funny because my husband actually is the one that does all the school stuff. Like when we moved to Raleigh from Indy, he made sure the kids were all registered for schools and, double check the district and all those. Like I was so hands off on that. He researched all the preschools. Like he did all of that. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, you pick and choose your battles, right? If it's annoying to me that he doesn't book the babysitters, well, like, is it worth it? You know what I mean? Like it's really, is it that big of a deal? But I think that's
well, so maybe at the end of the day, it's their preference. Like maybe it's just about what you like to do and what he likes to do. Or, I think it also may just not be that damn complicated, right?
Totally. Totally. Hey everybody, a quick break here to thank Beam for supporting this episode of the podcast. If you're looking for a place to get delicious hydration products, look no further than Beam. I am a runner myself and I love their Elevate Recovery Blend. It is a hydrating electrolyte powder formulated with non-GMO collagen peptides plus BCAAs for supportive joint and muscle health. It tastes like rejuvenating fresh lemon with no sugar added. If you go out for a sweaty run or workout, you need to replace those electrolytes. And this is the most refreshing way to do it. I've been running for over 20 years. I've tasted all kinds of electrolyte products, and this is by far my favorite. They also have a Dream Blend, which is a delicious bedtime cup of healthy hot cocoa. It provides you with sleep-enhancing vitamins and minerals such as magnesium, reishi, and it also has nano hemp in it. This is the most relaxing way to end your day. I take it every night. Helps me get a deeper sleep, helps me fall asleep and just relax. And you all can check out their products when you go to beamorganics.com and use the code Lindsay15. That's Lindsay15, LINDSEY15, and that'll save you 15% off your order. A game changer for your recovery. Get those electrolytes in your body, and a game changer for your bedtime routine. That's beamorganics.com. Use the code Lindsay15 at checkout, and that'll save you 15% off your order. All right, friends, back to my conversation with Amanda. One of the things I noticed on City Made Simple is that your sitters all have to be 18.
Yes.
Which I like.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have used Bambino in the past when we lived in Indy. I used it actually pretty healthily for a while there, like pretty often. And one of the babysitters that we ended up having as our regular babysitter, I found from that app. This was before I knew about City Made Simple. But my point is I did book younger girls on that site a couple times, and I have 4 boys. And when the youngest was a baby and the oldest was 6, I walked into my house thinking, she probably wasn't old enough to handle this. So I like that it's 18 because sometimes, not always, but sometimes the younger ones just, I had too many kids and they were too rambunctious. I mean, I think that's what it was.
This is interesting that you bring this up. I mean, there's so many tunnels to go down about, this industry in general. The first and foremost, reason that the 18 came in is, legal. The attorneys come in and they're like, wow, look,
yeah,
you're doing what?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, you probably shouldn't do this. Like, I wouldn't do this if I were you. This sounds like a really not scary, very risky business. Okay. Like, and I'm like, what, childcare? This is the one, I got this. What could be scary about this? There isn't anything I haven't already done or experienced, and I got this covered. I'm doing this my whole life. And the 18 comes and starts there. A lot of it is they don't have cars. They're still living at home with mom and dad, and there's a little bit of like, oh my gosh, my mom forgot to tell me about the family such and such.
Yes.
I don't care. Did you tell your mom you had a job and you committed to work? She said, what? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, that's between you and your mom. But here you made a commitment and we're going to need you to follow through on that. So there's a little bit of things about that. And we still see that in the college age kids a lot of times, which is, biggest pet peeve for me. Did your mom know you have to work? She does. Well, that is just a darn shame, because of course I come from the other side of things, and, so you see a lot of that. The other thing is, let's be quite frank about the entering someone's home and however that home is created and the needs in that home are specific and the things that can happen in that home. It's been 13 years. And I think I could retire in a book deal of just the shit that has happened and goes down in owning a babysitting service, you know? And I think that the whole point of it is really understanding that, no matter what the age is, these individuals truly do need to understand how serious the job is, but also how, amazingly fun and casual it is. But also, you talk about the human bodies and how SMS is different than the online. It's great to, create these apps and these websites to connect folks because it's easy to do now. Software is like the big thing. The problem with that is that, time change requests is ghosting, the Gen Zs, man, they're like the ghosting world times 1,000. There's so much that happens and goes down that unfortunately, you got to have someone coming in there to piece it all together and make it all work and emergencies and rush this. And, it would be devastating for us to cancel on a family maybe a handful of times a year.
So
in a
is that what
location,
happens if someone ghosts or cancels? The person who has a membership to City Made Simple calls your line and is like, my sitter didn't show up. What do we do?
have an immediate way that we would send a sitter out almost instantaneously.
That's really cool.
There'd even be money. I would offer any amount of money it would take for a sitter to get in her car to go. Just because, again, we can't. There are so many things. We're talking cancer appointments, whether it's cancer appointments for my parents or my kids. We're talking mom has to get to work. Dad has to get to work. We're talking a date night. I don't care how unimportant it might seem to somebody else. That might be a date night that they haven't had in a year, tickets that they paid so much money for. There's so many things for it, and a reputation matters. I've been in my city for 13 years. You don't stay and be able to stay here and have the reputation we have if you were constantly having a negative experience. Don't get me wrong, the last 2 years have not been my favorite.
Oh my gosh, has it been so hard?
You know what it is one of those things where thankfully I have been in business 13 years. The stomach flu is probably my first mini example of something like this, where you'd walk in a room and you'd lose everybody, or things like that. But last year was a surprise and something we just were doing everything we can. Thankfully, I'm a small business owner who has low overhead, and we were able to carefully place sitters in a home one-on-one and incubate. And not expose. And so that was really amazing that we were able to one-on-one, be able to send and keep our families that still had to go to work. A lot of our first responders, things like that, that could not stay at home. So we were able to do that. We did a lot of, everybody jumped in on what you did, which was the homeschooling and all of that. So last year was just the community coming together. It felt great. This year, availability, the staffing concerns that our communities across the country are experiencing, across the world really, is still something that is very present that we're all trying to work on. But out of anybody, we have the best resources, tool, and 13 years of data to, I feel incredibly grateful to just be able to continue serving families and young adults during such a difficult time, and I'm not alone. So, hey, to not be alone after everything feels good too.
So I was thinking about this, and like when I have babysitters, one of my biggest things, and I think as I have grown in my parenting, I'm just a little bit more, I think I never wanted to be super like I do this, do that to my babysitters. I always wanted to be kind of like cool and fun and, like you don't want to think of me as this like old grouchy mom. But I think as time went on and I had regular babysitters that I got used to, it was very much apparent to them in the way I communicated that when I get home, like I want my dishes cleaned up. I don't want shit all over the floor. And then I would get into a phase where like there were some babysitters that I just knew cleaned up better than others. So I'm so curious when you have parents requesting sitters and things like that. Is that something that gets talked about?
I'm so happy you brought this up. As we get older, I think, Lindsay, one of my biggest themes this year is boundaries are pleasure, right? Boundaries are pleasure. I can wake up every day and I can have life or I can choose to just make it harder. And I think this applies to, having a babysitter in your home, or the same thing as having family visit.
Yeah. Right.
So I think that as the founder and CEO of a babysitting service, the one thing and the best thing you can do for, folks like myself who are serving you, who have so many different babysitters and are sending you and folks into your home is to be clear on what the expectations are and to stop pretending as if everyone has the same one.
Yeah.
I think that one of the best things you can do is to exactly give them instruction. I think that to also understand that how many families they must see a year. And can you imagine how many different moms there are? And they walk into one home from 9 to 12 one day, and she's hitting up another one from 4 to 8. And she's going to completely turn her one brain on and turn the other one on to meet that mommy's needs. And so it's one of the best things you can do. And if you ever have a babysitter to your home, is to have that, whip that page out. Hey, here's my highlights. Here are the things you really want to know. My youngest to eldest, he tends to really want to push buttons. Feel free to do this, or hey, XYZ. And I definitely want to make sure that any dishes, the kids can make a huge mess. Feel free to play as hard as you want with them, but that you will have to be the one to wrangle them to get it cleaned up. Yes. Whatever it is. Obviously, we are one of the, it's something we're doing here with the service is, I think that's the biggest misconception is, I did have a mom say, I just canceled a sit with so-and-so. She's 19. I just don't think she can do this. And I was like, whoa, she sits so often and she raised like 30 cousins. You want this one.
Yeah.
Really communicate with your service too. If that's something they offer. I do understand that we're few and far in between in the sense that you can get us on the phone and then the first call.
That's crazy.
Or you can send us a text, a DM, an email. We're on here constantly. There's just a million things we're doing just like you're talking about. I get complaints all the time about she left the house a damn mess. I'm like, okay, I'm on it. I got it.
Yeah.
Because I've just got to remind her, hey, you got to make sure you're not going to get any sits. You're going to be, unfortunately, you're going to get banned.
Yeah.
You're going to get so many complaints that I've got to push you out of the system. They're all so different, which is great. And I love that because each family's looking for something different.
Yeah.
We certainly have an expectation here before the families. We set the policies, we set the rates, we set how everything works, we set cancellation fees. It's really a set for both parties. These sitters are grown adults. They really do need to make this work for each season. These sitters come back for their weddings to bulk up to pay for their weddings. They come back now as moms. They're moms today. I've been in business 13 years. In just that one location, I had no idea they would, of course, I wasn't even thinking about the fact they become moms today. And now that's full circle over there. But
totally.
It's definitely really great to just be able to understand that, yeah, these things are expected. They're expected by the service, whether they are by you or not. So it's fine if you want to treat them like a child, but we certainly don't have it set up to where that's going to work eventually at some point in time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's going to crossroads and we'll step in at that case and be able to say, hey, that's not something we're able to accommodate. Here's what we need her to do because she's breaching policy, etc. So it's really making sure that we can meet the needs and meet as many families and sitters' needs as possible. There's a lot of sitters in the past too that have stated, coming into working with us and the model and having kind of the work ethic that I have my whole life and and working in this industry prior to this is that we were the first company that had these expectations of them, and they needed it. It's the first time these kids had heard somebody who had told them that actually you can't do that, and this is going to be needed if you really want to make it in the real world today, and XYZ. And I think it was a weird thing that they didn't expect to get through a babysitting job.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. One thing I have thought about a lot when we have babysitters is like, I do not want a babysitter to come into my house and sit on their phone.
Mm.
Do you have issues
Mhm.
with that?
I would say, I mean, I don't know what we do about that today, honestly. I think that, in the early days, I don't even know what year to mark this, to be honest, Lindsay.
Gosh, like
In the early days,
2012 maybe is when I feel like
I
it
mean, I'm going to let you
started.
say, yeah, sure. 2012, sure, we start getting this. And I'm like, if you're going to, no phones.
Yeah.
Then insert the cameras,
Yeah.
right? The little
Oh, yeah.
cameras that would come in the bookshelves, and you'd come have someone put in cameras for this or that. And then you would start catching them on your phone and you're on the cameras. And like, oh, they have cameras, you idiot. Like, hello.
Yeah.
And today everybody has cameras, right?
I
So it's,
don't.
well, everybody does. I mean,
I
a
think
lot
a
of
lot of
people do
people
in
do
certain
though.
locations. Oh yeah.
I
I have a mom that will message me and she's like, I am at work right now and your sitter is on her phone. What in the world? I'm like, I'm on it. Got it. Or you have the other line where you've got a family who may be like telling the sitter what to do or what to clean up or things through the cameras. And of course that's where we draw the line.
Oh,
But
for
again,
sure.
no, these are things we talk about like before a sitter can actually sit with SMS. We actually make them we meet them, like we get and spend an hour with them and we talk about this stuff. Hey, I understand phones are a thing, kids have phones, but if you're going to be on your phone, it that's not something. It might fly until it doesn't fly. At some point in time you're going to get caught or kids turn you in. You need to be engaging. We've got a lot of stuff planned for 2022 now that we're kind of post COVID, where our sitters have more access to things on what they can, and perks and a lot of the things that we do with them behind the scenes that no one talks about to encourage them to do scavenger hunts and
Yes.
this
That's what
and
I want.
that.
I
And
want
so
babysitters like,
yeah, I grew up in the 80s, and well, I was born in the 80s. I grew up in the 90s, so I'm a Babysitters Club kid. I
yeah.
walk the kids to the library to get those VHSs. It's just it's kind of where I came from. It's the only way to survive as a babysitter. Otherwise, you just watch the clock go tick tock, tick tock. The
Yeah.
kids they're not engineered or built like that. And I didn't realize that going into this. I went into this like I am, like my industry, like the kind of babysitter I've been my whole life. And I expected to meet, I expected, but then I forgot that we grow up and then no one, you don't babysit after you become a mom and XYZ. So then you have generations that you meet. And you're like, what were you thinking? And you're, oh, what were you thinking? 10 people this week. What were you thinking? Oh my God, it's the generation. Okay, well, let's figure this out. Okay, well, now we have to build this and we have to do this. every few years it's an adapting in the model. And here at SMS is to realizing what's the top complaint this year and what are they not coming with? What resource and what tool and what skill were they not taught? Mac and cheese? What? You don't know how to make mac and cheese? Well, shoot. Okay. Okay, well, we'll add that to the list of things that we will talk about, in our sessions. Hey, so you're going to be asked to make some food for these kids. How are you? Are you good to do that?
Yeah.
You popped popcorn in a pan with oil and you did not put a topper on it, and you what to her kitchen? Oh my God, she spent a week cleaning it out and scrubbing it, and she is pissed, and it cost me $100. So
Yeah.
let's talk about this for future sits, okay? Oh my gosh, you put dish soap in the dishwasher? You flooded her kitchen. I mean, there's just so many things that need to be discussed that no one talks about. So yeah, go get a babysitter online. But, there's potential, that you're going to have a few experiences that nobody was prepared for.
Yeah.
And sometimes not even we can be prepared for. But you know what we can do? I can clean it up a lot quicker than anybody else. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit easier, over here than I think it is to navigate out there, which is nice. But it's funnier over here. It's more of a glass of a champagne in the evening, and funny, than letting it, ruin the rest of the world for too many nights like it used to.
I think that if that somebody flooded, my kid, things like that. Yeah, I just got to laugh about that. But as I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, there's two things. It's the babysitter being on the phone, and then it's the babysitter just letting my kids watch TV or be on the iPad. Because it's like,
hard.
here's the thing. It's like, well, I'm paying you so that they don't do that. Give them 30 minutes. I know you want a break, but like, really, like, I think about like, oh, if I had someone come while I'm doing interviews, like, well, I'm physically here in the house and they could technically just watch TV while I do these interviews if I'm here. So it's like,
right.
Yeah. So I think that just goes back to the beginning or the middle of our conversation where it was just like, just lay out those expectations ahead of time. And I don't want to be like the kind of person you babysit for where it's like, oh, she expects all these things. It's like, no, I'm chill. I'm low key about this and that. But like also I'm paying you. And so I don't want my kid to just watch TV the whole time you're here so you can sit on your phone.
Well, and you know what is so great about what you just said is, and again, because I'm a third party who works with lots of folks on your side of you're my user is welcoming someone into your home. I've got then the other user though that would come from the other perspective of saying, hey, it's not so much about the fact that you're nice, cool, or chill. It's a lot about I never know where I'm going, what I'm about to walk into. And I'm also coming from class or my family or work. And I really absolutely would love nothing more than to know in the first 5 minutes where I'm at, what's going to happen, and what the needs are, because that's safety too.
Yeah, totally.
It's not safe to walk into your home and have you not say anything to me, have you not give me any direction, have me be sitting with strangers and these small individuals that I very much feel qualified to be with, but I don't necessarily feel comfortable all the time either. So, one of the things that I want to make sure that is really important for any parent, grandparent, or anybody, and we could take this as far as the holidays right now and welcoming family into our homes for traveling or going into someone else's home, because that's the other thing. It's not so much about you're so worried about how you come off or that you are going to be the kind of mom that the babysitters talk about being the worst or the best. It's a lot about you creating a safe environment where people know what to expect. That's it.
Isn't that so funny though, that like at this stage in life, I'm 38, I like still want the babysitters to think I'm cool.
Lindsay, we want everyone to think we're cool. It's just something that like we do, it's we want to walk in and to share space with everyone and want to come off a certain way. Wouldn't that be great?
It's just it's so funny because I think back to my babysitting days and like what I thought of the moms, and I'm like, I'm not like that. Surely I'm not like that. And granted, times have changed or whatever, but 40 is much younger than it was 25 years ago. And I truly think that we, like, as a society, we feel that way, right?
It's true. It's true. And I'm 40. I'm 40 this year, so I get it.
Tell me about turning 40. I have a year and a half.
Oh, and again, this is a personal preference for everybody. I'm one of those individuals who have always loved to get older.
What a gift that you love that.
I don't know. I remember sitting in a room with other women who owned businesses. This must have been in like the first 2 years of owning SMS. And I must have been, 20, 29 years old, and lots of different ages of women, always the youngest in every room at this time. Today, I'm not the youngest in every room, but back then as a female, business owner, pre-Facebook, pre-Instagram, I was always the youngest in the room, and I was a part of this women's group. And I remember coming in really stressed out one day from work, and this, had a really bad experience on a phone call. And I ended up looking at these women and I was like, does this get any easier? Like, is this always going to feel this way? And I remember that one of these women, I remember respecting her so much and loving so much about her. And she was one of those women that always seemed so calm, She she just come in, nothing ruffled her feathers. And I thought, man, to be that person, but like nothing ruffled my feathers. And she said, it doesn't get any easier, but it just, or she goes, doesn't get any better necessarily. These things never, leave. This always happens, but it gets easier,
Mm.
it just gets easier. And I thought, well, damn, I'm going to dream of that day, that it gets easier. And it's interesting, 13 with my professional career, I more have spent most of my energy on my professional career than I did my personal, that, I thrive. And when it comes to my career side, my my work life, I thrive there, to where definitely, my career is, I can do this with my eyes closed. Nothing ruffles my feathers day. I'm not to say I'm not always surprised. I can still be surprised today, but I certainly don't think, I don't, nothing is shocking, or, nothing would make me lose my shit, I don't think, today anymore at work. Now at home or my personal life, certainly brand new, and I've got training wheels, and I'm hoping to get that, that 40-year-old stage for sure. So I think getting older just feels like, do you want to go back to high school? I mean, do you feel like high school is an age you would want to return to? I don't know. This feels good. This feels really good. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I love that. Hey everybody, a quick break here to let you know about the Donna Marathon Weekend down in Jacksonville, Florida. It is February 6th, 2022, and Jacksonville, Florida starts and finishes on the beach. There is a half marathon and a marathon that Sunday, February 6th. There's also a 5K and a kids 1 mile fun run on Saturday, February 5th. So 2 fun days there. A great time of year to head down to Florida, get yourself a weekend away. The Donna Marathon Weekend raises funds for the Donna Foundation, which helps people who are walking through a breast cancer diagnosis, as well as funds groundbreaking research. This will be my 5th year now, and it has just been such an amazing experience getting to know the team over at the Donna Foundation and the marathon, and we have so much fun when we go. We're actually bringing all of our kids this year, so they're going to do that 1 mile fun run on Saturday, February 5th, and then my husband and I, we're going to do the half marathon on Sunday, February 6th. So go check it out. Go to breastcancermarathon.com, use the code Lindsey10, LINDSEY10, and that'll save you 10% off any of their races that weekend. Such a fun weekend. I'm also, one more thing, gonna have a meetup that Saturday around lunchtime. I'm gonna have a meetup for all the listeners of the podcast. Would love to meet you there. We'll have more details about where exactly that meetup will be and what time in the coming weeks, but know that it will be February 5th in Jacksonville, Florida around lunchtime. And then the half marathon is the next day. Cool, friends. I hope to see you there. That's breastcancermarathon.com. Use the code Lindsey10 for 10% off any of those registrations. All right, friends, back to my conversation with Amanda. Okay, so if people want to learn about City Made Simple, obviously they can just Google that. But if you're in one of the 6 markets, I'm going to check it out today. It's so cool that you're in Raleigh. I can't believe you're in Raleigh. And we have not had a babysitter since we moved here.
Oh, you should so try it. I'll have to connect you with Emily and Kaylee. They're sisters.
In July.
Emily is actually a previous SMS indie sitter.
Oh, that's so funny. And she
was a sitter
Raleigh
there for so many years, and she is so many years, graduated, and talked to her older sister, who was a postpartum nurse, who's a military wife and a mom of 3 expecting a 4th. And she talked her into moving both families out to Raleigh, North Carolina, where they've lived now for at least 2 years, if not more. They've moved the entire family out there, and they are sisters getting to do this together. It's an incredible story for the brand. It's a cool experience for me and for them, for sure.
That's so cool. And so interesting that they moved from Indianapolis, where we moved from. I love it.
Lindsay, I'm telling you, it's a small
It's meant
world. When
to
I saw that this
be.
morning, I thought, I do not do podcasts. You are my second. And I thought, you know what? It must have been
Meant to
too
be.
many connecting dots for sure.
Yeah, that's so good. Okay, Amanda, what's something professionally or personally you would like to do that you haven't done yet?
You know what? Today, currently, the answer to that question would be I am looking forward to the challenge of I am on this new journey to stay incredibly happy and healthy within my professional life while also staying incredibly happy and healthy within my personal life. We have all, most of us, I would imagine, have struggled with spending too much time at work or too much time at home. And I certainly have like spent the last few years trying to find the golden nugget or drinking the whatever it would take to get there. And it's funny, I figured it out this year, but that is what I want. I want to be happy and healthy at home and at work.
Yeah. What's that
Yeah.
word? Is it balance?
It is, you know what it is? It is being authentic to myself and making sure I focus on those things I know that make me truly happy.
Yes.
It's actually not as complicated as we think. Putting myself first, Lindsay, that's what I'm
Yes.
going to do.
There we go. What's the best, most recent book you've read?
I usually have a few. I'm in the middle of the Not All Diamonds and Rosé, the Bravo Real Housewives book that looks like an encyclopedia. When I saw it, I could not wait.
Is it good?
It's quite interesting. I'm very new. I do about 6 books at a time.
Yeah, me too.
But that's my newest one. And yeah, I'm very much a Real Housewife and anything Bravo's fan for their whole life. And yeah, it's juicy.
I was just thinking about this because last night my husband was at a happy hour for work and I had got the kids to bed and I was like, what do I watch? He's not here.
Which one did you watch?
No,
Tell me.
I didn't.
Oh.
I didn't because
What?
I know. Well, I'm not a Real Housewives fan, but when I was
Oh, you have to.
on Hulu, I saw one and I was like, are they still making Real Housewives? Is that still
Lindsay? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I'm
We're
more
so
of
behind.
I'm a Bachelor person. I'm into The Bachelor.
Well, Bachelor needs 2 hours of your time. See, I can't figure out people who can sit down and do 2 hours of
I
one
never
show
do
at
it
a
in
time.
one
That
sitting.
seems
though.
a lot.
I always watch on
Okay.
Hulu and like I watch it in a couple
same.
sittings. So
Oh my gosh,
what's
this blows your mind. There are like 12 different series.
what's your favorite city?
That's too hard. Lizzie, I cannot answer that question for you. That is like not a question you can ask a Bravo fan. They're all so incredibly like amazing. If I were to give you one to start, which
Yes.
look, I can't.
Please do.
You start with whichever one you want, but the most recent one that none of us can take our eyes off of, which is a brand new franchise, is Salt Lake City.
Oh,
Lake
is it a
City,
bunch of Mormon
okay?
moms?
Oh my God, it is, Lindsay.
So
And
no
I need you to
drinking.
Oh no, there's drinking. Stop it. There's drinking. They drink. Oh, Mormons can drink, Lindsay. You need to figure out the real Mormons.
Oh.
Salt Lake City. And just so you know, if you really want to have an in with the Raleigh owner, Emily, the oldest sister, she is like one of the only owners like me that I can talk about with Bravo. So if you really want to get on her good side, bring up the Real Housewives series on the phone with her.
Okay.
Or in the message box, you can DM her. And we can message back and forth when you're a member and the website.
Uh-huh.
So you guys can totally message her about the
Okay.
Real Housewives.
I'm gonna
Amanda
get
told me to
signed up.
ask you about the Real Housewives.
What I feel like there's a really high percentage of wealthy Mormons from Utah on Instagram as well.
I know nothing about this. I've been living in the SMS world, working 12 to 18-hour days and never getting out.
That's your only escape is the Real Housewives.
The only 2 things I've really ever done in my life is, serve families and watch Real Housewives. And that is true. And so, I had no idea what this was all about. And I am just, it's just crazy to me. Yeah. I'm just learning, I'm navigating, all the different, because of course I live in a world where every business owner will tell you if you own a business in any city, you can answer phones and you know exactly which community that individual is calling you from in your city based on exactly how they're speaking to you.
Oh my goodness.
True.
Oh, that's so good.
You know which Real Housewife you're talking to and which community they are from just from talking to them over the phone.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet you have certain areas in different cities that have an actual Real Housewives vibe compared to other.
You have no idea. Yeah.
Oh, that's really
The data is insane.
I'm probably confusing though here in Raleigh since I'm an indie person because I'm not a true Southern mom. You know what I mean?
Well, it just depends.
I'm a Midwest mom.
Well, Lindsay, data says that you walk right out of that Midwest, you walk right over there, and you just start blending right in.
There we go. Okay, well, we'll see how that works. Well, that's what my friends have said, like, because I feel like I've met a ton of moms and like families in the neighborhood, and there's like people are like, well, is that like Southern nice? Are they actually really nice, or are they like, I have to be nice because that's what's expected of me nice? Do you know what I mean?
Like the bless your heart?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like kind of figuring out like, are they just like playing the part, or like do they actually want to be my friend? I'm figuring all this out.
Well, you should just be who you are and know that, that is all you have to do. And whatever they do is on them, right?
That's good.
That's just kind of, yeah.
I love that.
It's not yours.
Okay, so what's your last message to leave with our audience today?
Book an SMS sitter.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm gonna sign up.
That's usually and typically always my message for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna sign up because I was just thinking about it the other day. I mean, part of it has just been like, we're settling in here. Like, we don't know a ton of people yet.
Yeah.
But we've only had a babysitter one time, and that was when two times, when my husband's dad came to visit and when my parents came to visit. And we're not strange about babysitters. Like, if you're breathing, we'll leave our kids with you probably.
You have 4 kids, so yeah. There isn't anything you say no to like that. I mean, that's the difference between you and, a mom of 1 or 2. I mean, it's just very different.
Yeah, and there's a little girl in our neighborhood who's 16, and she's very quiet.
Oh, cute.
And she's offered, and I'm just like, honestly, if it was 2 of our kids, I probably would, but I just don't know, man. It
just depends. This is the whole thing of the ageism to like, women and men. Be careful not to ageism our sitters. I think you've got to be able to like rule out who's for you and who's not for you. That 16-year-old may be like the oldest of like 15. If she's like the youngest of 5, probably not. She's
right.
The baby and she did nothing for herself. I mean, you can definitely use like, the one, I'm the oldest of like, I don't know, 30 some, grandchildren and great grandchildren. So that makes sense for someone like myself, right? I was raised, raising the siblings. But, I think it's definitely depends on also what type of mommy you are. Your best friend's not looking for the same sitter as you are. And that's also refreshing to know too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, last thing I'll say about our babysitters, one of the babysitters we had I think she was 19, but she was one of 10 kids. And she was like 2 in the lineup. Yep.
You've seen some stuff. Okay, cool.
And her mom was a doctor, so like working mom, like both working parents. Like this girl like took care of her siblings a lot. So
there you go.
I was like, you can handle my crowd of 4. So anyway, okay, cool. Well, thanks so much for doing this, and we will check out the service, City Made Simple, and yeah. Have a happy holiday.
Oh, thank you so much. You too. Thank you so much for breaking up my week and getting me away from everything else I planned. This was nice to kind of like get away for a second. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
And tell Maggie I said hello.
I will do that.
She is truly so kind and has always throughout all these years just been so nice no matter what. It's just, she is like the cleanest, squeakiest track record, that one. So
she's a loyal client too, huh?
I can't tell you. I mean, that is all her and nothing to do with me.
Oh, it's so good. All right, cool. Well, thank you.
Have a good day. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning into the show today. Thank you, Amanda, for coming on the podcast. You all can learn more about City Made Simple. Just go to citymadesimple.com. You can learn more about this podcast and all the other shows in the Sandy Boy Productions Network when you go to sandyboyproductions.com. We have a brand new website over there. Go check it out and learn about our other podcasts. You can find this show on Instagram. We are Why Is Everyone Yelling over there. You can find me personally if you'd like to connect. I'm Lindsey Hein, 626. That's LINDSEYHEIN 626. We also have a Facebook group and page, Why Is Everyone Yelling? We would love to connect with you over there. Thanks so much for being here, and we are so excited for 2022. Lots of fun guests coming up on the show. If you ever want to request a guest or just want to connect with us, I can be emailed at lindsay@sandyboyproductions.com, and you can also sign up for our newsletter at sandyboyproductions.com. Have a really happy new year. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next week on Why Is Everyone Yelling?